Hello, this is Mr. Jarrett, and in this video tutorial we're going to be working in Adobe Illustrator and learning about the Liquify tools. So out of all of the Liquify tools there are, and you can see I have them all listed here, I think the most useful one is the Width tool, and you'll see why. So I'm actually going to come back to the Width tool. We're going to skip that first. We're going to go through a whole bunch of these and then come back to the Width tool. So you can see why this is the most useful one out of all of them, in my opinion. So the Liquify tools are located over here in this toolbar. It's not a drop down. There's 4 tools down from the T. So 1, 2, 3, 4. It's kind of this odd looking shape. It's hard to describe what it is. But I'm going to click and hold on that, and you can see all the different drop downs. Again, we're going to see the Width tool for right now and come back to it. I'm going to start with the Warp tool. And when you get one of these tools, or most of the tools, you can see it's a large circle around it. So the circle itself is what allows you to change this. In most programs from Adobe, the bracket buttons, or the 2 buttons next to the letter P on your keyboard, those change the brushes. So I thought originally that those 2 would change the size of this, but I was wrong. So I'm pretty sure the Alt key, Alt on your keyboard, then you can kind of see that that will change the overall shape of this and size of this. Maybe there's a different way, but if you hold in the Alt key and you drag your mouse down to the left on an angle, and if you hold in Shift, it kind of does it differently. But if you hold in Shift and Alt and you drag your mouse down to the left on an angle, it will resize this. So I'm just going to get mine smaller, and then you can start to kind of pull out and you can see what the Warp tool does here. It just kind of warps it. It bends it. You don't really have a whole bunch of control, but this is the Liquify option. And if you want to play with making your tool a little bit bigger so that you see what this does too, it just affects it more. Okay, so that's the Liquify option. And this is the Warp setting. Start going through these fast. The Twirl setting, as you can see, you can click and hold on it. It just starts to twirl. You can get some pretty cool effects. So if you're trying to do an interesting background, like a paint splatter or something like that, you can get a pretty cool looking effect. Next one is the pucker, kind of just makes it pointed and bends out in different ways. Almost like a sharp spike, kind of. The next one is the bloat. The bloat just makes it bigger. So this one, it's almost like you're painting the shape. It's kind of odd that it works this way. But the bloat tool, this one did, instead of pointed like the pucker. Next one is called the scallop. And if you look at that picture, you'll see exactly what this does. Kind of just grabs the edge of it and it makes it poke out a whole bunch of individual times. Then there's the crystallize. This one kind of just grows little crystals off. Last one is the wrinkle. The wrinkle, I really had it work super successfully. Maybe I'm doing it wrong here. But as you can kind of see, I don't find a great use for a lot of these. So these are the Liquify tools. The one I use, other than the twirl, you know, while I make a cool looking background like that. But the Width tool is the one that I use all the time. So if you go to the Width tool, and yes, I made this one as a line instead of a box like all the rest of these. So the Width tool itself, when you go over a path, if you click and hold at one of the spots, you can actually bend and warp this to a different width. So if it's in right around in here, you know, I can kind of almost make like a little wine glass or something. Or you could bend just to make some sort of fish. So the Width tool itself is really cool because you can adapt and change and warp this very fast to get a line profile that you would like. And when I click off of this, if you just first glance look at that, it almost looks like I would trace the outside of this entire thing. But in reality, it's just a straight line that I warped with the Width tool. So this tool itself is very useful in my opinion. Those are the Liquify tools.